What would you like the power to do? Bank of America.
So I couldn't be more excited to be here today with Duncan. Duncan is the Senior Vice President and President of North America. He's going to be talking about General Motors, but not just as an automaker, but as one of the most influential institutions shaping Detroit's future. So we're having a conversation here in Hudson's in Detroit. And I should say this building is extraordinary. We've actually already hosted a bunch of events here through Crane. We're actually planning the 50th anniversary of the Automotive News Congress for September right back in here. So hopefully you'll come join us for that.
Love to.
You guys have been downtown in the RenCen for decades. And this isn't about discovering Detroit, but it could have gone in a lot of different directions. What's so significant about staying downtown for GM, and what does being here in this space say about how GM sees the future?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. I've had all my career with General Motors across the world, and I've been in the US, been in Detroit 12 years, and I absolutely love being here. I love GM. If you go back, what's very special about it is just how it's had a 100-year history in Detroit, and specifically to our headquarters. We've had 4 headquarters in downtown Detroit. Our first was just a few blocks from here on Woodward Avenue in 1911. I came over here about 12 years ago, and I was in the RenCen, and I got to be honest, I loved the place. It had its flaws, as we all know. It's pretty easy to get lost in there if anyone's been in. But nevertheless, I love going in. I love seeing the sign saying World Headquarters of General Motors. Always gave me a great sense of pride, not only to be part of GM, but because it's so much a big part of Detroit. So I got to be honest, when we moved out, I didn't think anything could kind of replace it until I came to the opening a week or so ago down here, and I kind of forgot about the RenCen in a second because
like
this place is not only beautiful, its positioning is fantastic, and again, a lot of the way, the decor, the architecture that you see in here is very much related back to the original buildings up in Warren, the original design center that was done by the architect Saarinen, and so this is all very reminiscent of that. So again, we've really kept that historic element in this building that really goes back through our history, through to all those times. So I think it's critical we stay in Detroit. Again, when I came over, I came running the Buick brand and the GMC brands. There's actually one of the historic signs right outside the Renaissance Center that says this is where the Buick brand was founded, David Dunbar Buick. So I just love that history. I love that sense of self that it gives, and I think it's just so important for the city, for the people, for General Motors, and for the global auto industry that General Motors is right here in the heart of a city that is absolutely on the up and up.
Duncan, do you think we should tell the people in the back that you're giving away free cars, and maybe they'll pipe down a little bit?
Yeah, oi, shh.
Yeah, I think that worked. So, you think about this building, and it's so much more than just offices. It really feels like it's part of the fabric of this city. Now, when General Motors is embedded in a development like this, it means all of your teams, they really get to be mixed in with residents and the visitors that are sharing the space. So how does that setting reflect how GM wants to engage with Detroit, maybe a little differently today?
Yeah, again, the Renaissance Center welcomed people in. It was pretty hard to get out once you got in, I have to say. But
a bit of a mousetrap.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, we had the display with all the vehicles there. So again, it was trying to bring the community in, but it was difficult because of its location, because of its setup. But this is just so much better. It's just great that this is becoming a high traffic area of downtown Detroit. Obviously, we've got our showroom downstairs, which again, I think is fabulous to welcome people in, because we want everybody who's in Detroit to feel a part of General Motors as well. But as you say, this is a mixed-use space. It's not all for General Motors, and again, it's got other residents, other elements to it. And again, we want it to be a place where people can collaborate, innovate, and really use the space to form that community as well. So again, I think it's just crucial that we're here in this space.
Yeah, I love it. Is there anything that you hope either your employees or people visiting Detroit, when they walk through this building and they walk through their space, is there anything you want them to take away from the fact that General Motors is here?
Yeah, I'd love people to take a sense of pride. I mean, the world over, being part of General Motors should give everyone from Detroit, in fact, everyone from the US, I think, a sense of pride. It's left an indelible mark, a positive one, on society over the century plus that we've been in business. And I think it's an absolute foundation of Detroit in terms of what it produces to the economy, what it produces for jobs, what it produces for innovation, and the list goes on and on. So, I'd love people to take that away. I'd love people to think that it's, this is where a lot of the innovations that will shape the world going forward is coming out of. Some of the new technology that we're seeing, such as the autonomous driving capabilities, Super Cruise for General Motors, which is the most successful one across the industry right now. So again, just huge amounts of innovation, a huge amount of employment, economy, investment, and success. And I'd love everyone to feel a part of that and take pride in that.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about kind of Southeast Michigan. You guys have a broad footprint, and it really shows up in neighborhoods and schools and workforce pipelines. When you guys invest in an area, it's more than just in the products. You really invest in the communities. And what does that say about how you guys feel Michigan's long-term potential?
Yeah, well, again, we're Detroit, we're Michigan, we want to stay here, we want to develop here, we believe in it, we invest in it, and we have done for the century that we've been here. In terms of the US as a whole, we're the biggest auto employer in the US. We've got 50,000 direct jobs in Michigan alone, and again, as you say, that's right across the whole of the state. It's through all the separate counties. And of course, when you bring in our dealerships, our suppliers, you're into 200,000 jobs in Michigan that are indirectly related to General Motors being here. That creates a huge amount of investment into those facilities, a huge contributor to GDP in Michigan as well, which is helped stimulating the economy. In fact, we contribute about $50 billion to GDP across the United States, and nearly 30 billion of that is right here in Michigan. So you can see what a huge part of that it is. So jobs, GDP, investment, it's just huge. And of course that enables us to give back to the community as well. Huge contributions into the non-profits across Detroit, $1 billion invested into the riverfront, and hopefully that will carry on as well, just making the communities better and the area better that we all live in and we all enjoy.
$1 billion.
$1 billion into the riverfront over a decade, yeah.
It's amazing. Duncan, you mentioned jobs, and let's talk about manufacturing talent a little bit. When you guys think about the future workforce, why do you think this is a critical moment to invest in local talent?
Well, things are changing, and they're changing at pace. I mentioned some of the innovations like on autonomous driving, Super Cruise. These are things that 5, 6, 7 years ago were inconceivable. Anyone who hasn't driven a vehicle that basically steers itself down the highway, when you try it, your jaw will drop. And so things are changing rapidly. The movement to not only industrial advancement, but also technological software and services, it's huge. So things are changing fast. AI obviously is going to be a huge part of it. So we've got to invest in our workforce. We've got to invest in the communities. We're very active in supporting STEM initiatives across the community here as well, because we've got to build an adaptable workforce that can really not only change with the times, but lead that change as well and keep GM at the forefront of what's happening in the industry. It really has revolutionized now the amount of work that is related to, say, autonomous, to software, to services. The vehicles are just so integrated in that way now. So it is a different skill set. On the industrial side, again, a lot of advancements in terms of manufacturing practices, robotics, things like that. So again, new skills, new innovations, and that's why we keep investing in the people of Michigan.
Yeah. Michigan hasn't always been the most attractive place to come work. It's a problem that Jim Farley talks about a lot. We've got a lot of open positions, especially on a day like today that's freezing outside. What's been the most encouraging, maybe an anecdote or two about the talent coming to GM from this region?
Yeah, well, what GM has done, we're an attractive company to work for. We've got people working all over the United States, but obviously the massive majority of that is here in Michigan. And what we're finding is we are attracting talents from across the country. They might be on a mixed location in terms of where they work, but predominantly they spend their time here. So what we're finding is we can attract the best, the brightest from all over the country and indeed all over the world to work for General Motors. But again, the vast majority of those are based here. We've got a great track record and a great commitment to developing talent here and complement that with the best and brightest from anywhere in the world as well. Yeah, it is a bit cold. It is a bit cold by any standards, but that's part of the resilience that I think is attributed and associated with Detroit as well. And again, that's something that General Motors has, and that's something we love, and I think that's something that makes it attractive. But when you're somewhere like here, and I was here around Christmas as well, and there's not a place I've been in the world that's nicer than around here at Christmas. You know, I was down here and I was trying to explain to my family, and I was like, yeah, it's like London. I'm from the UK and originally. Oh, well, maybe Chicago or New York. And I'm like, actually, it's nicer than all of those around here now. And again, that area is just expanding, and I think we can all be proud of what this is bringing.
Yeah. It's so neat to hear Mary talk about shopping at Hudson's with her mother. And when you think about Mark's long tenure and his father and the legacy and the history of General Motors in Detroit, you had mentioned some of that legacy and really carrying that history through to today. Are there any lessons or principles that you guys still talk about that kind of pull forward that rich history?
We talk about history a lot, and not because we love looking to the past, because it inspires us to what we can achieve in the future. As I mentioned before, I started my career as an intern with General Motors in Liverpool in the UK. Went on to run the UK operation, worked in Germany. I think we met for the first time over a decade ago back in Europe, worked all over Europe, came here because I wanted to be in the headquarters, wanted to be in Detroit. I remember the president of GM at the time, he wasn't from Detroit, saying, "Are you sure? You know, we can send you to Australia, or you can go to all these nice places." No, I only want to be here. I only want to be in the headquarters. But we take great inspiration. You know, the original concept of General Motors, offering a vehicle for every purpose, for every purse, that has maintained and lived with us through to today. The innovations that came with that, we had a lot of firsts in the industry, which again inspire us to create more firsts. And again, I keep talking about autonomous driving, but there's many more. So we love our legacy in design. We had the first design studio in the entire automotive industry. We created the first concept car in the entire automotive industry because we believe in design. We believe in design as a way forward, as a way to keep pushing the boundaries, and that'll enable us to win. And it has enabled us to win. So the impetus and the importance we put on design, innovation, engineering, manufacturing really goes back to that historical success we had, and we take it to heart and make sure that we put that front and center as we go forward.
I love that. Kind of a perfect lead up to my next question about, you know, talent, infrastructure, culture, when it comes to innovation, and how you guys really harness innovation still. And what do you feel like is the most important thing that you have to protect, whether it's here in Detroit or from a culture standpoint at General Motors, and what might be the hardest to replace?
Well, in terms of protect, we've got to protect that innovative spirit, that pioneering spirit. I think whenever complacency sets in, you're basically going backwards. Standing still is never enough. And maybe there was a time in the auto industry in the US in the 70s where we got overtaken, and we'll never let that happen again. So we're always pushing the boundaries. We're always keeping that in the culture. We've actually just done a lot of work on culture in General Motors, and speaking fearlessly, being innovative are two key pillars of that, because we know how important it is to carry on. In terms of what will be hardest to replace, I think the spirit that is embodied in the company in Detroit, that is something that if we went somewhere else, I honestly think would go with it. There's a resilience to this place. There's a resilience to General Motors that enables us to succeed and frankly be at our best when it is times are tough, when it's turbulent. And my word, have we had some of those over the last 5 years. In 2019, we had a strike, then we went into COVID, then we went into chip crisis, then we went into tariffs, then we went into raw material issues.
It's always something.
Yeah, there's always something, especially the last 5 years. I'm not sure there was that many things before that. It seemed pretty stable, but you know, through that time, and again, anyone who saw our quarterly earnings this week will see that we've responded faster, quicker, with more innovation, with more determination than I think our peers, our competitors, and that's enabled us to take the company to a position where we're as strong or stronger than we've ever been.
So, Duncan, let's stay on the earnings call. A little bit of a transition here. You guys said that 2026 is already shaping up to be a stronger, more profitable year. You know, really that your product mix is reflecting customer demand. What does that approach across EVs and hybrids say about how GM's reading the market today, and why is flexibility such an advantage?
Yeah, flexibility, absolutely huge, especially in turbulent times like this. Like I said, the changes I just mentioned were huge step changes in what may or may not happen in the industry. But one of the real success factors of General Motors is we've got this broad portfolio, probably the broadest in the industry, 4 really, really strong brands. We've got a combination of the broadest EV portfolio in the industry, but also a full line of traditional, what we call combustion engine vehicles as well. And that really means that whatever is happening in the market, and there was some big step changes last year driven by regulation and incentives or incentive withdrawals, that we can succeed in whatever the marketplace puts forward at us. We did have a great year last year. We ended up number 1 in the industry again. We were number 1 in critical segments like full-size pickup truck, full-size utilities. And one thing that's on a lot of people's minds right now is the affordability of not just vehicles, but of everything. And we're really proud that we sold 700,000 vehicles below $30,000, which is the lowest at the low end of the market. And in the small SUV segment, which really is that segment, we've got about 45% of that. So, you know, we really are trying to appeal to everybody who wants a new motor vehicle, and we're doing that really successfully. But again, I think our superpower is this flexibility, it's this breadth of portfolio, and it's the ability to pivot very quickly to whatever the situation throws at us.
Yeah. So Duncan, I got to imagine coming from the UK, you're a bit of a Formula One fan.
I love Formula One, yeah.
Some pretty exciting news out of General Motors.
Yeah, so it's funny, you grow up in Europe really, and you know, I dare say, you don't know what NASCAR is, you don't know what IndyCar is really. It's all Formula One. And there's areas of the globe, a lot of places around the globe, you know, that are like that. It is the pinnacle of the sport, of motorsport. It is the biggest attraction in motorsport. And quite honestly, for me, having followed it from being about 7 years old, it's pretty much like a dream that we're in there. So, you know, absolutely can't wait. I was luckily enough to go to a few of the races last year in preparation for Cadillac being on the grid in March of this year, so just a few short weeks away in Australia. Some of you may have seen that the vehicle literally first got driven about 2 weeks ago in Silverstone in England.
It looked pretty cool.
It did look pretty cool, and then it's had further testing in Barcelona. So it's pretty amazing to think the vehicle had never come together until about 2 weeks ago, and yet it's going to be on the grid in about 6 weeks, and going around that track at 200 miles an hour. And 2 great drivers, a great team. It's a tough sport. So as much as we'd like to think we're going to be winning races from day one, we'll see. There are new regulations, so everyone's got a brand new car, so it does open the door a little bit. 2 great drivers, so we'll see. But you know, this is a true partnership with the race team. We've invested into a huge facility to build the new engines for the Cadillac. We've got all of the equipment. We've got the dynamometers, only 5 in North America, so you can simulate the conditions of an F1 car on any track in the world. And you know, we've really invested heavily into this, and it's just so exciting for GM, for Cadillac, and again, frankly, for Detroit and what it means to this whole state. So I hope this is everyone's home team as we're following Formula One going forward.
Pretty neat to have Detroit represented on the grid.
Yeah.
Will you be at the first race?
I won't be at the first race, but you won't keep me from the North American ones, that's for sure. So I was going anyway, quite honestly. I'd go to them before we were involved, so Miami, Vegas, whatever. So now I've got a vocational reason to go. You won't keep me away, yeah.
I'm sure you got some people out here that would volunteer for the pit crew if you need any extra hands.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw this, but they were recruiting about 500 jobs for the team, and they had so many applicants that the people who got the job, I think it was a 0.3 acceptance rate.
You're kidding.
So many people applied. I mean, it's just a hugely, hugely popular, hugely glamorous sport, an exciting sport, whether you want to be in the engineering side of it, or the pit crew side of it, or indeed the kind of marketing side of it. It's a real spectacle. But yeah, hugely popular, and I think everyone who's not that close to the sport will see that once Cadillac get in and how it all unfolds over the forthcoming season.
Yeah, you can't argue with the marketing viability, but as the top sales guy in General Motors, does it help you sell cars?
Yeah, again, I'll give you some examples. Our kind of backup driver, reserve driver from China, when we announced that just a couple of weeks ago, the number of people, the views on the internet, on the website, searching Cadillac was beyond anything we'd ever seen around the brand before. Similar phenomena in Mexico. Checo Perez is one of our drivers. You can't imagine how popular these people are until you actually go there. I was at the Mexican Grand Prix last year. A picture went up on an animated advertising screen. I think it was advertising tequila, and the whole stadium went crazy just because a picture of him went up with a bottle of tequila. So you can imagine what it would be like when he's driving in that stadium in a Cadillac. So, and that'll spin off into all the markets we're at around the world. We've seen similar interest in the US, which is obviously our biggest market, China, our second biggest market for Cadillac. And I think we're just well placed to really accelerate our growth in those spaces. Obviously, in the luxury space, it's exciting as well. Audi are just getting into Formula One for the first season coming up. Mercedes obviously are already in there, so it's really becoming quite an exciting dust-up of the world's luxury brands in Formula One.
It'll be fun to watch. Duncan, as we wrap up here today, you mentioned a pretty tumultuous 5 years. I'm sure even the easy years don't feel easy, but when you think about your roots here, 12 years now being personally in Detroit, how has that shaped the way you think about GM's future?
Yeah, I mentioned it before when I was asked where did I want to go, and I only wanted to come here. Having been with GM at the time for, I don't know, 20 years, I only wanted to come to Detroit. I wanted to be in the city, I wanted to be at the global headquarters. One thing that I've seen, so vividly since I've been here is just how we do respond to dynamic change, to radical change, to unexpected change, to crisis almost, when we think of some of the things that I mentioned, like chip crisis, COVID. I'm always excited by that level of change. It basically resets, puts everyone on pause, and gives the people who respond fastest and furthest, you can make leaps, giant leaps in terms of your performance, your progress. In normal times, then it's really more about iterative gains. But when you get that reset, the people who go quickest can really make leaps. That's something that I've seen, and we've seen it year after year after year, the last 5. I've seen and led, teams that have responded just phenomenally like that. People who relish that challenge. Dare I say, if we ever get that stability again, I'm not sure what a lot of people are going to do with themselves. So I've really learned just how great the team, the people of this state, the people of Detroit are, the people at General Motors are, responding, leading, wanting to win, and really making ourselves win in that ever-changing environment.
That's great. Duncan, thanks so much for being here.
Great
Ladies
to see
and
you
gentlemen.
again. Thank you.